right. In the name of God, the gracious, the merciful, we give him praise and thanks for his mercy and his goodness to the human family. If all the trees upon the earth were pens to write with, and if all the oceans were ink, and then another 7 oceans add to its supply, the writing would still not be enough to explain the glory of God, for he's the exalted, all-powerful, all-wise. We confide in no other in our time of need, and we praise no other in our good fortune. He is one. And even if I lived to be 1,000, it would still not be enough to thank God for his many blessings and gifts. We thank God for the Metu Neter, oracle scriptures and writings that came thousands of years on the continent of Africa before any organized religion. We thank God for Moses and the Torah, Jesus and the Gospel, and Muhammad with the Quran. I greet everyone in words of peace. To my Christian family, praise the Lord. To my Muslim family, assalamu alaikum. To my Hebrew Israelite family, shalom. To my Black conscious family, hotep. And to my people in the streets, what's good to you? It all means peace. So once again, this is Brother Sharif with the Hour of Power. Go to Hour of Power, Sharif Hamid on YouTube. Subscribe and share so we can continue to lift the mind, body, and soul of our people. Before we get into this much anticipated interview with my family here, just a few community announcements. This Saturday, weather permitting, the Black Collective will have a registration for the much anticipated Black Collective reading program that actually starts on February the 2nd during Black History Month. So at 459 West King Street, Championship Community Center, parents and children are encouraged to come to the location to register your children so they can participate in the reading program, which starts Saturday, February the 2nd from 11 to 1. They're going to have trained tutors to help our children with reading, writing, and comprehension, which starts February the 2nd. And this program is designed to, again, enhance the reading, writing, and comprehension skills, but it's Afrocentric based. We don't need to give no lecture on the challenges that some of our children has with reading and comprehension. It's designed for children from grades 3 through 5, but unfortunately, as we know, some children are in the 8th and 9th grade and reading below their grade level. So I talked to Miss Kirkland, and she said she's opening it up not just for 3 through 5, but others. So bring your children. My children, my boys are going to participate, even though they are doing very well in school, but that's not the point. The point is for them to encourage their peers to achieve in reading and wherever else, because peers can reach their other peers better than we can. So we got to find effective ways to use our youth. If there are any other community announcements, please inbox them to me or post them on this thread, and we'll be glad to post it. So again, February the 2nd is when the Black Collective Reading program will start, 459 West King Street at Championship Community Center. On Saturday, February the 16th, we will make a grand return to the Blacks and Wax Museum, sponsored by the Hour of Power. That Saturday, February the 16th, we're asking everyone to arrive at the museum at 12 p.m. sharp. 6 cities are supposed to participate. Durham, North Carolina, where I just moved from, Harrisburg, Lancaster, Philadelphia, York, and Baltimore are all supposed to participate. We're supposed to have catered food there by a restaurant by the name of the Grub Factory there. It is a cost. It's not free, but I'm making sure that it's a reasonable cost. So again, that's Saturday, February the 16th, the crowning moment of Black History Month. We're going back to the Blacks and Wax Museum. Please arrive at 12 so we can all go in at the same time, and I'll do the best I can to get us in at the best cost. The cost is between $10 and $15. So I'm working on trying to get us the best cost to get in. I got us all in at a group rate back in October. I can't guarantee that this time because it's Black History Month. So everyone and their mom are going to be learning about Black history. So I already talked to the owners and stuff down there. They said, Brother Sharif, we'll do the best we can. So that's Saturday, February the 16th. And then remember February the 2nd with the Black of Collective with the reading program. So now, come meet the Morgans. I could not wait for this one here. Do you two want to introduce yourself, ladies first? Just give us a little backdrop. I mean, y'all don't need no introduction, but we'll just follow protocol here.
Well, to reintroduce myself to some and to others, you may have never seen me before or heard of me. My name is Tonya Morgan. I am a native to the city of York and have graduated through this York City School District and went on through a career in housing, anything from mortgage retention to first-time home buyers workshop, facilitated that. Also rental assistance program in my most recent career, investigator with the City of York Human Relations Commission, where I've been going from there for a year, where we investigated complaints of unlawful discrimination in housing, public accommodations, and employment. So civil rights was definitely and still is a passion of mine. Tenant landlord rights, definitely a passion. Anyone that seems to be at the disadvantage, that's where my heart is. And married to this fine man here, that's be a great segue to hand that over to you, Judge Morgan.
Yes, sir.
All right. Those that don't know, I'm James H. Morgan, originally from Augusta, Georgia. Attended middle school and high school in Chester, Pennsylvania. Attended York College, graduated with a degree in criminal justice, and worked on the York City Police Department and spent time with the State Attorney General's office, working narcotics, and I now sit as a magisterial district judge here in York County.
Great. Great backdrop to y'all career and life here in York. And if anyone wants to call in with any questions or comments, it should be going across the Facebook stream. But if you're watching on regular TV, the call-in number is 717-846-5067, 717-846-5067. If you have any questions, comments, or encouraging comments or statements. If y'all don't mind, how'd you two meet?
Can I tell the story? My
okay.
version is funnier.
Okay.
We met actually on the field at Hannah-Penn. My son, shout out to Khalil Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
Also shout out to our other children, Jasmine, Lorraine, and Jamie. And we also have 4 grandchildren, Boomer, Talia, Joshua, and Amor. So I wanted to say hello to them. However, I was a single mom then. My son was playing for Boys Club, and they were scrimmaging South York. So, that's always a goodie. That always draws a crowd of people, whether it's a regular game or a scrimmage. And sitting there minding my business, and
Here we go.
here he comes, sauntering over to me, and he has this whole, I think he was wearing some Wrangler jeans at that time. We laugh about that inside joke. But I already knew who he was because everyone had known him as Morgan the Cop back then, although he had retired from law enforcement a few years prior. But any case, he came over, introduced himself to me, threw out a few corny lines, and I fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. And phone calls and, courting one another. And next thing you know, we're in love. So.
Now, Mr. Morgan, is that your version of
Her version is my version.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. All right.
Peace in the home. Her version is my version.
Right. Okay. All right. So here we are. Y'all make a wonderful couple. I'm kind of new, not new to York, but new back to the area. And when I first came across but you kind of grew up in my neighborhood, back in the day,
yeah.
right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
You were my neighbor.
Right.
You were my neighbor, 2 or 3 doors down from where I
Right.
grew
Maple
up on
Street.
Maple Street.
Right.
That's right.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so I was very happy to see y'all, and y'all make a wonderful power couple.
Thank you.
As they say, even though y'all are individuals, you have your own, way of doing things, but as they say, you're one. So that's always great to see. And this month is Family Month, with the Hour of Power. And I seen you made a post the other day about you potentially having a show. Did I read that right?
Well, actually, it's the same show, Black Perspectives with Lady T. You can check. I have a page on Facebook. You can just look up Black Perspectives with Lady T, and actually hit like on my page. And I've only done a few pilot videos so far. Last year, I launched it in mid to late August. And since then,
2018.
yeah, of 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've done probably about 4 or 5 shows. Subject matter being educating our youth, our African American youth. Michael Breland, who is also, I forgot to mention, I'm also a school board member of the York City School District.
Right.
I'm a board of director. And Michael Breland, who is my colleague, was so kind to be my first guest on the show, and he is a counselor like yourself, and with mental health and all of that. So he's been in that field for 30 years. So he lent his expertise. The next show was Tonya Larry. We also we talked about the movement, and then we progressed on to talking to our youth, our young people, teenagers, about racism. We talked about kneeling versus standing during the anthem. We talked about Donald Trump, and the last show that I did tape was about African American women and our hair, and so that was a very great discussion with Councilwoman Judy Ritter Dixon, Councilwoman Sandy Walker, also a dear friend of mine, Candace Robinson, and a sister friend of mine, Shirley Woodyard. And it was a very candid conversation. So what we're going to continue to do is have that. And my sister, Diana Thompson Mitchell, is the producer of that. She really stepped my game up. So we're actually going to continue with that platform, continue to tape the shows, but it's going to be, those tape shows will be airing on this here.
So when does that, like, how can we look out? Because when I saw that post, man, my whole day lit up. But you gave like different times, so I wasn't too clear. I didn't want to say, okay, look out. I just reposted.
Yeah.
Can you give us a little?
Sure. From what I can remember, there's a few times. One time is going to be 7:30 a.m. on Sunday morning. I would like to do something a little special, so that's in the works there. Also, Monday, this is like a pop quiz, everybody. Monday evening at 9:30, and
I think it's at 9, right?
9 p.m. And then you can definitely go to my Facebook page again. That's Black Perspectives with Lady T for the definite times. And then and also White Rose Community Television they have my schedule on there as well. And also Tuesday, I think it's 7:30, something like that.
So are you saying that you have to pick one of those slots, or you have all those slots?
I have all of those slots.
Wow. And they'll be replaying?
They will be playing whatever videos that I send to Cliff. Cliff Kern,
okay.
He's
right.
Yeah, he's awesome. And so you will see a rebroadcast until I get all of my new shows taped.
Right.
You'll see a rebroadcast of those shows that I had mentioned just a moment ago. And then we are working on some other new things. So I'm really grateful that I will have a bigger viewing audience Also on YouTube, if you could do me a favor, go on YouTube and look up Black Perspectives with Lady T, and like and subscribe to my page, please.
Right.
I need subscribers.
Yeah, that's a little you have to be patient with YouTube.
Yeah.
I tell people, I think I might have told you before. I remember when you had first started it, and you were saying, you're almost competing against yourself because, and it's the same with me because YouTube is more of a long lasting thing. Like people are still viewing videos 15, 20 years ago,
Right.
where Facebook is right now.
Yeah.
So if you would put something on Facebook, everyone's going to run to Facebook because the content you have is great, where YouTube, it may take another year or so until you build up them subscribers, because it's a more long-lasting thing. So it'll get there. I mean, you have great content, so it'll get there.
Thank you for the encouragement, because I'm like, oh, I can't get past 6 followers. What's this?
Oh no, it is. You're almost competing against yourself, because
Right.
you'll get the hits on Facebook, but YouTube it takes a little more time. So you guys been in York, for a while. Mr. Morgan, from your perspective, how have you seen York, change, just like community-wise, from 15, 20 years ago, to now? And you could take any, any.
Well,
angle.
I think what's occurring now, and I like to speak about the youth,
Mhm,
because
mhm.
the youth is important because they're the future.
Right.
And I, as a youth growing up myself, I didn't see myself as being the future. I was just, enjoying life and learning, and just watching individuals who, model, the right things. And I think what's going on now with our youth, and it's happened over the period of time, is they have lost a sense of conflict resolution and anger management. They're to the point now where when they're angry, they want to just take whatever has angered them or upset them out of their life. And what they don't realize they're doing is they're not only erasing that individual from their life, but they're erasing themselves from life, because then they're ending up incarcerated because of how they're dealing with their anger and their conflict. And I think that's something that we really need to focus on now. And the parents can really work on directing a better attitude of their children by recognizing it themselves first, and then dealing with it in house before you're trying to deal with it after they've already gotten themselves jammed up. So I think that's something that we need to try and work on, and I'd love to see that in some conflict resolution and some anger management with our youth, because it is really, you could see it progressing over the years, but it has really gotten worse, and it's going to get worse unless something's done about it. So
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, Mr. Morgan, with that term, conflict resolution, because with the youth group that we have at Vonnie Grimes Gym, actually I forgot to mention that in the announcements, we have that every Wednesday. I mean, not every Wednesday, every Saturday between 11 and 1 at Vonnie Grimes Gym for youth between the ages of 7-15, male and female. And almost every week we touch on conflict resolution, which leads into the whole bullying thing. It's just so many angles to it. But like you said, if it's not being taught at home, and a lot of our youth are just used to seeing destructive ways of resolving conflict, the guns, the violence, even the screaming and the yelling. They just aren't taught that. So I'm glad you used that exact term, and that's actually like goals that I have to go over with my clients, with me being a therapist, is how are you resolving conflict? Ms. Morgan, what's your view on how York has changed from the time you were coming up and going to school? Because you went to York High, right?
I went to York High. I mean, I was educated all through the schools, York City School District, from kindergarten on through to graduation of high school. And I think the most drastic change occurred when crack cocaine hit York in the mid 80s, and that's when I saw it turn the corner, and it never turned back around. And we saw the destruction of families as we knew it. Although I grew up in a single parent household, but there was still a base that we felt loved. We felt that our mother was there. We felt that we were well taken care of. We didn't realize that we were poor or anything like that, which we weren't really poor, but she was a struggling mother. But then when you have a new dynamic that hits the street, such as crack cocaine, it comes in and shifts the whole paradigm. And what I've seen was even people that I knew, that I grew up with, they're chasing that rock. I've seen mothers have abandoned their children, and now the grandmom is raising the child. So it changes the whole dynamic, the family composition as we knew it. And even the stories of mothers taking their children into the crack house. And this is happening in the city of York in the mid 80s. And it changed everything as we knew it. We saw people get drug dealers get carted off to jail. Hadn't seen them in the whole rest of the 80s, all of the 90s until mid 2000. Like, oh yeah, I remember you, and here you are at 45 years old now. When you went away, you were 18.
Right. So
more violence. So I've seen the destruction. I've seen the decay in our downtown where it was booming. There's a lot of factors that kind of help with that. When you have the malls and things and everything else goes out into the county, loss of jobs, loss of income, dads are not in the home. So also in our school district, we've seen a lot of different things happening, and it's the children seem to be a byproduct of the things that are happening in the home. Oh, sure. We have a caller. All right.
Our power. Our power.
Hi, this is Timon, a.k.a. also known as... Hi, this is Timon.
Yes. How you doing, brother?
Also known as a.k.a. Mr. Hollywood.
Mr. Hollywood.
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing wonderful. I just want to commend all three of you up there for being wonderful leaders in our community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, and you have anything else, brother?
Yes, definitely. One thing that I like seeing is, that I think that these youths don't understand is that the values and the gifts that they have inside of them. And it's not until they really that they truly find these things that they can really express them. Because when we were growing up, how many leaders in our lives were really consistent? But today, what I'm seeing is York really starting to come together. They're starting to build up. They're starting to open up these youth development centers that are helping the youth come more outside their home and then go into an environment where it's more safe and more educational.
Right.
Right.
That's very important.
Yeah.
But I definitely just want to give a call in, show my support, commend the three of you for being great leaders in our community, and I just want to say thank you.
We thank you
Timon.
for your contribution. What you're doing, and keep going into those schools and showing the youth a different angle of how to do things. Okay, keep listening in, brother.
All right, my friend. You have a great day.
Thank you.
I wanted to add a little bit to what Timon was talking about. You got the community centers that the Championship Community Center that just opened up.
Yes.
It's good that you have those things, but I think what you need to go back to is, parents are supporting their kids when they're young, but continue to support them as they become teenagers and get older. If they're going to the community center, go there and and watch them perform on the basketball court or whatever they're doing. I mean, because when I played football, I loved looking over to the side and seeing my dad or my sisters over there on the sideline. Not just when I was, in the age of 8 or 9 or 10 playing, but when I got into my teenage years and into high school participating in sports, I'd love to see my family there supporting me. You know what I mean? And that's a good factor that needs to also take place. Get the parents and family members, other family members involved in supporting them in their activities. One other thing I wanted to share, Tonya had mentioned about being in a single family home. Unfortunately, there are a lot of single parent homes now. But what I shared with a lot of kids, and I've shared with my son, is that, and I share with my daughters, when you think you have it bad, someone's got it worse.
Right.
My mother always instilled that in me, that there are times that I have a hard time or I think I've got it bad, but then I've got to think about there are people that have it worse. And that in itself pushes you to just know, even though, you think that your story is bad, someone's got it worse, but we all go through what we go through in our growth and our development to be able to tell a story. You know what I mean? Everyone has a story to tell.
Right.
Those that have done well, those who haven't done well, but they have a story to tell, and sometimes that story can inspire and lift someone else and give them some direction and some hope. So,
and that's a great point by both of you. And you just wouldn't believe how spoiled, so to speak, some people are. With my job, people don't come to me for therapy. I go to them. I'm what you call a mobile therapist. So I go to daycares, and I was at this daycare just the other day, and it's a white daycare. I can't say where, of course, but the owner was telling me how spoiled people are, mainly her clients. She said she had a client who was, complaining about how embarrassed she was going to the grocery store because she didn't have a credit card to pay for her groceries. She had to use cash. She said, this is ridiculous. And she went on to say how it was a few little minute mothballs in her clothes, and she was going to she got a walk-in closet of clothes. She said, I'm getting rid of all that garbage, and I'm going to get new clothes. I can't imagine walking out like that. But yet you got people not clean drinking water, people barely making it. Right. So, I mean, Americans just in general are just beyond spoiled. Like, I was like, are you serious? She was like, yeah. She was mad that she had to pay cash, almost like she was using food stamps or something. I don't know. She was like, I should be able to swipe my card and all that. I said, well, I would like to have those problems.
Well, it's funny you say that. And I shared this with Tonya. We were on vacation last year because a former classmate of mine, him and his wife, they were on the same cruise that we were on. And I would tell her that, while in high school, I received free lunch. And it'd be a white ticket, and they would stamp it each day. You get it each week. And I wouldn't go get the free lunch because everyone else was able to get a la carte to buy stuff, and I had to go get the free lunch. And I went a number of days not eating because I didn't want to be seen getting the free lunch. And we ran into him and his wife on the ship, and he said, yeah. And he was a great athlete. He's like, yeah, I was the same way. He said, I was hungry a lot of days because I was too embarrassed to get the free lunch. But I look back now, I can kick myself, kick myself, man.
Heck
because
yeah, you were hungry the whole day.
But that's just how kids are. You know what I mean? That's how kids are. But it's like it was something I went through. It's the way I was, and I can understand, how some kids feel like that because that's how I felt.
The image of things. Now, does this place still exist? Does Super Shoes still exist?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I remember, this is how petty some of us are. I don't know if y'all remember this. This is how petty some people are. People could notice if you got shoes from Super Shoes if there was a hole in the back of your shoe. So I was walking around bragging. Remember the Larry Birds and the Magic Johnson sneakers came out?
Well, I'm a little older than you, bro.
Yeah, well, they had
remember
some. Yeah, so they had some sneakers come out. I don't know, they were by Converse, and I remember someone said, I was Eric then. They was like, man, you might want to cover that up. I was like, cover what up? It was like, we know you didn't get them from. I said, well, I'm bragging. I was feeling myself. I said, yeah, I got the magic and the bird. He was like, yeah, you might want to cover that hole up in the back. I was like, what's that mean? He was like, we know you got them from Super Shoes. Man, my dad was like, I got them shoes for you, and I noticed you haven't wore them yet. What's going on? I made up every excuse in the book not to wear them shoes because someone blew my cover. Like, I mean, they're sneakers, but
I can give
that's
you
how
one better
petty
than
we
that.
are.
I don't know if you remember Jack Purcell's.
Oh yeah.
They had
Purcell.
they had like little rubber thing in the front.
With the blue stripe in the
Yeah,
front.
it's like a little blue stripe in the front.
White
Well, I had a pair of sneakers that looked like Jack Purcell's, but they didn't have the blue stripe. I
Oh.
was outside scraping them on the side. I thought you had to scrape
man.
the toe to bring out that blue stripe.
Wow.
But no, you had to go spend a little more money to get a pair
Right.
of Jack Purcell's.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, situations like that. But I was blessed to receive a summer job, and that's what I try to stress. And I talked to the city about this to give these kids summer jobs because
happened to that?
it empowers you. It empowered me because they only allow one person in the family, low income family, to have a job. It was Manpower in Cedar. You're probably too young to remember that, but I had a summer job making $2.65 an hour. Got paid, every 2 weeks. But I bought my first pair of Dr. J's.
Oh man, I remember them.
They were $32.
All
And
white
my
with the
parents-
big red.
Yeah, my parents weren't going to buy them
uh-huh.
for me, but I was walking around a pair of Dr. J's because I worked and I bought my sneakers, And that's what our kids need now. I mean, it empowered me, it inspired me, and I was able to buy my own school clothes. I didn't have to go with my mom to the Montgomery Ward's catalog store anymore and have her order, order my plaid shirts with my French double knit pants, and But yeah, I mean, it's that's important itself, for kids to be able to earn honest money during the summer,
Right. Yeah, and like you said, gives them a sense of some sense of responsibility, because my first job was at the old, what they call the Ghetto Giant. That was my first job out East End, and my dad took me there, took me to York High to get the work permit, and went there, and before I started working there, he said, and that was in 88, I got the first job there. He said, now before you get this job, he said, we use this other kind of language. He said, I want to see how many bleep bleep Michael Jordans you get now. He said, you've been pressuring me and your mom to get all these Jordans. I said, oh no, I'm gonna have them all. He said, all right. I looked at my check. Then minimum wage was $3.89 an hour, and I was in high school, so I was only allowed to work maybe 6-7 hours a week. I get my check, and Jordan's 100. My check is $89. I was like, he said, I told you. He said, I told you. I ain't had a pair of cents. Everyone before that, I had them, but when it was my money, he said, I told you. He said, what you think this is? I was like, so that was a huge, wake up call for me. But both Mr. and Mrs. Morgan, what do you think we need to do to stop this senseless violence? Like, people have the marches, they have the talks, but what is I want the solution. I'm not blaming anyone, but what?
If I had the solution, I'd be a millionaire.
Right,
It's not just in York; it's nationwide.
Nationwide.
But everyone needs to look at and clean their own house first. If you know where your child is and what they're doing, and everyone took ownership to what their child is doing, then it'd be a much better place. But there's a lot of these guys and girls out here just doing what they want to do with no supervision, no guidance, and no hope. But you gotta build it one child at a time, one brick at a time. The destruction that has happened in our society, in this city and nationwide, didn't happen overnight.
Right.
It occurred over a period of time. So for someone to come up with a solution overnight, it's not going to happen. It's going to take some time, and I believe it will happen. It's just going to take some time. I hope it happens in my lifetime. If it doesn't, I hope that I at least have a part in getting it started to things getting better. I try to get into schools, and I've done motivational speaking for a number of years, and I try to get into schools to at least share my story. Because I don't want anyone looking at me and thinking that, wow, looking at my position where I'm sitting now and thinking that I had it easy all my life. I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth. That spoon had rust on it and sometimes dirt. You know what I mean? I had those little tiny roaches in the sugar and the flour, you know, that no one talks about. I ate no frills puff rice and puff corn cereal from and carnation powdered milk. You know what I mean, from Pathmark. You know what I mean? You know, when you think, like I said, I go back to when you think you have it bad, someone's got it worse.
Right.
So, and Tonya was saying about, you know, they weren't poor. I didn't know that we didn't have until I saw people who did have. You know, when I went off to college and you got a stereo, that's not your parents, that's yours. You know, you have a television. You know what I mean? I mean, I didn't have, but I survived. You know what I mean? And then I worked jobs on campus and worked, you know, to buy what I wanted. You know, so it's going to take time. It's going to take time.
But I would also add too that, you know, the difference from when we all were growing up and now, there are so many more distractions for our youth. There are so many different avenues or ways that they get drawn into different things, and there's stronger influences that they look to fill certain voids. And so, you know, I wish there was a silver bullet that would just take away this murderous spirit that is across this land. And I'm not trying to preach again, Brother Sharif.
No, go ahead.
But there is a spiritual component to it that I always go back to, because a murderous demon is bloodthirsty, and once it tastes blood, it continues to want more and more. I mean, murder goes back to Cain, when Cain slew Abel. You know, so it's ancient. That demon is ancient. And it grows and it grows and it wants more and it wants more. And then now when you have the layers of music videos, the introduction of various drugs, escapisms, seduction, children are having sex younger and younger. You know, babies are being born, they're being neglected, mass incarceration, snatching families apart, devastating families of the white supremacy. It goes on and on and on, and it devastates communities and jobs leaving. When you look at places like Detroit, when you look at Newark, New Jersey, where it just seems to be decimated, with jobs left, people left. It's one vacant, blighted building after another.
Right.
And our kids don't have anything to look forward to.
Right. Again, this is valuable information. It's being shared. Hope everyone's enjoying and learning from it. Calling number 717-846-5067 if you have any questions or comments for our wonderful guests. Your wife had mentioned earlier about the breakdown of the family when you're, you know, doing your thing with being the judge here. Do you see that come in front of you, and do you have like a chance to give them a quick encouraging word? I know you have to follow, you know.
I see it a lot, especially when I handle the truancy cases and the cases of children who are charged with summary offenses in the schools for fighting and being disorderly. I see it a lot because usually it's just mom coming there, and mom will express that they can't control them. You know what I mean? That for some reason, their kid, their son, or even their daughter is just angry and always acting out, not just in school. Because if they act out in school, they acting out at home. They obviously controlling home. Because see, I didn't act up in school. Because if I act up in school, home was coming to school. It was going to make sure I didn't act up in school.
Right.
And I knew I had to deal with home after school, you know, and some of the kids are running their homes. And then some of the parents just aren't taking on the responsibility of being a parent. You know, when you have a first grader who is truant or late for school, the first thing I ask is, how are they getting to school?
Right.
Well, she walks. Well, why aren't you taking her? I work at night. You know, well, why aren't you getting out of the bed and taking your child to school? You're at work on time, aren't you? Yes. Well, what are you teaching your child? You know what I mean? You've got to teach them that it's important to be on time and to be in attendance every day. So yeah, I see it, and I take that opportunity not only to talk to the parents, but even to talk to the kids about their behavior. And I share some of my experiences and share to them that, you know, you're the future. You know, you may be that future nurse or doctor who has to take care of me when I get old. And I'm trying to make sure that I'm going to be taken care of, because I tell them, I said, my kids told me I'm going to a nursing home. So I want to make sure I got you there as my nurse or my doctor to make sure I'm okay, because they're not going to take care of me. And that's the kind of thing I try to share with them. And I try to share with them that, you know, when you're acting up in school and people are laughing, they're not laughing with you. They're laughing at you.
That's a difference.
See, because they got something to talk about at the class reunion 5 years after graduation. When you didn't graduate, they can talk about that kid, so-and-so, and it's humor for them at the reunion. I said, you don't want to be that. You know what I mean? You want to be someone that they're proud of, to say that I was in school with him, and you know, and that's the kind of stuff I try to share with them. And sometimes for that moment, they seem to get it. But then, you know, if I could do a follow-up, I'll find that they're back to doing what they were doing before. But I have been fortunate enough to not have families repeat on truancy cases, because I try to work with them to make the parents more responsible to attend a class, and you take responsibility for the attendance and improve upon the attendance, and I'll make these fines go away.
Great. I'm glad you addressed that, Mr. Morgan.
And I don't see you know, many repeats, which is I'm proud of. I'm glad to see that.
Yeah, that's a deep, dark secret. Not so much a secret, but I don't know what you want to call it, an obstacle in our community that hardly no one talks about. When I was in North Carolina, I was in, you know, almost doing the same thing. I was a counselor for different schools, and I would actually sit in on the truancy cases. I would see mothers almost on the flip side have 2 and 3 children in truancy court, and them fines was $200, $300, $400, $500, and you got a mother with 2, 3. She was like, I can't control them, and before she know it, she have like a $1,500 fine. Like, how is she gonna pay that? And she was just getting behind, and she couldn't control, you know, these boys and girls. So that's, you know, great that you see that same issue, but you're trying to work with them, not to bury them further. Because some mothers just, you know, and the people are saying, well, what about the mother? What is she doing? No, where's their daddy? Where's he at? You know, because if he's there, then you work together. Why is this always piled on, you know, the mother? I think some of our mothers get you know, a bad rap sometimes, because all they see is her. She's trying to handle all these children. She didn't make them by herself. And then this guy's sitting back playing PlayStation and watching the football game, and all the blame is being thrown on the mother. But she ain't make them by herself. So that's great that you, you know, do that to try to help these children. Wrapping up. We got about 15 minutes. It's going fast.
It is.
What do you think, Ms. Morgan and Mr. Morgan, about this firestorm and social media in the community with R. Kelly? I know you gave your view on it, and you were very passionate about it. What's your overall view on it? You think it's just something on social media and we shouldn't pay much attention to it, or you think it's a scourge in our community?
I do think it is a scourge in our community, and our children are watching what we say on social media and our response to it. And if those of you who are watching don't understand what we're talking about, the singer, R&B singer R. Kelly, been all through Lifetime, in an explosive documentary interviewing those whom he victimized through alleged pedophilia, alleged domestic violence. Even his former wife had talked about her accounts of what happened. And what I've seen on social media, it was really discouraging to me in some parts, that, you know, some of the responses I've seen is, oh, we've all known this about R. Kelly. since 30 years ago, and what's the big surprise? Or there's some big conspiracy theory. They want to link it to race. Well, because he's black, they're out to get him. No, all the fingers still. You cannot negate the fact of that these testimonies that I saw were powerful. They were believable. They were gripping. And they were shocking. And when we are saying all of these things that are deflective from what the allegations really are, and I think that you did a dynamic piece earlier this week talking about the subject matter. We're sending a message to and these are little black girls that are shunned and ignored just historically.
Right.
Historically, we're not even going to go into that, but we're sending a message that, oh, you don't really matter. That more attention is going to go to the person that is committing the bad act instead of looking after your soul and getting you to some help, the proper authorities. We're telling them that if you open your mouth and say something, you're going to go through all of this drama. And that should not be the message that we're sending. We should have a unified message for our little girls that have experienced some type of rape. It is not a sexual relationship. When you're talking about a 14, 15, 16-year-old, it's rape. Right. And so we need to change our language, call it as such, let these children know that there's a safe place, a teacher, a police officer. If you can't tell your parent, tell a trusted auntie, tell a trusted grandmother, someone that you can turn to. And don't be discouraged by what you're seeing. The whole reaction is to what's going on right now with R. Kelly. The thing for you to do is to be safe. We want you to be safe.
Right. One question I wanted to ask you, Mr. Morgan, was when that tape first came out with him with the 14-year-old girl, that happened around 99. He didn't actually go to trial till about 2008. It just drug on, kept on being delayed. And one of the analysts, or so to speak, who was doing the documentary said something. I went to school for criminal justice, but the way he worded it, he said, well, the reason that it drug on was the defense does have a right to a speedy trial, but if they're not pushing it, it could be dragged on. There was the point they were making was the prosecution wanted a speedy trial, but he said that's not the way it works. If the defense isn't pushing for a speedy trial, that's the way it was dragged on. I was a little confused by that. Could you give any clarity?
I didn't watch. In all honesty, I didn't watch the documentary.
Okay.
Because pro football was on Saturday, and on Sunday, and Alabama was playing Monday.
Right.
And yesterday I watched Law and Order. So although she informed me of what was going on with it, I didn't take the time to sit and talk on it. I'd really have to sit and watch the documentary myself to be able to, to get some insight on it.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? So, and if they didn't elaborate on why it took so long, it would be hard, and it wouldn't be fair for me to try and dissect what may have happened, that it was delayed, because there are different things that occur in the court system that causes delays.
Well, in my opinion, and of course it's not legal, but a legal opinion, but in my opinion, from what I understand, everyone has a right to a speedy trial. And when you have a victim, she has that right to bring her to bring the bad actor to justice. And so, but what we do see over and over and over again in our justice system is that those with money, they can skirt around that. And he was a person that was making gobs of money. and continuing to release albums, and was able to buy the best lawyers that could draw it out over a period of 6 years. 6 years. Can you imagine what that does to witness testimony?
All right.
By that time, he's allegedly paid off family members. So there is no shock why he was acquitted of all charges.
And just finishing out on that, because we could go on, and everyone has the right to their opinion. The whole thing triggered some things with people that have experienced it, or some family members may have been the perpetrators. So for different reasons, some people just didn't want to touch it. But one thing, like you said, it was kind of disturbing to me was when people were saying this is a distraction. And I made it clear on my podcast that I did. It was a little rough, but I'm not worried about it being rough, because we're talking about our children. Why would someone be worried about the way I'm saying it when we talk about our children? To me, it's not a distraction, because if anything, it's the reverse, because we've distracted away from this issue for way too long. We've been going through this since we've touched foot in this country. We've been raped and molested by the powers that be.
Yes.
And then we picked up this sick behavior, and it's been swept under the rug. All of us have a family member who is either a perpetrator of this evil act or a victim of it, or a combination of the both.
Yes.
And it is ravaging our community. So it's not a distraction.
Right.
And then people start saying, well, he's not the only one. That almost reminds me of a child. Like, did you take that cookie out the jar? Well, he did it too. But we ain't talking about we ain't talking about him. We're talking to you
That's
now.
right.
So if it took R.
That's
Kelly to bring awareness to this serious detrimental issue, then so be it. You wouldn't believe, and I'm not bragging, the phone calls and the inboxes that I have got from women in the last 2 weeks saying this is what happened to me, because they know I do therapy and counseling. I met a sister at Park City Mall the other day. I was walking my mother around, and she sat me down, and for almost 2 hours, she talked. I mean, and she was. That's all I can say. And other people have came to me and said, yeah, he did this, he did that. What should I do? So if that's what it takes to bring awareness to this serious topic, it is what it is, because it's been swept under the rug for way too long. And we can no longer harbor criminals. It's called aiding and abetting.
Aiding and abetting.
And I talked about that.
Yep.
That's supposed to be a crime, right? Supposed to be a crime to aid and abet in the commission of a crime. So
that's right.
We have a lot of aiding and abetting going on. But it is what it is. Finishing out on a more positive note, I see your Cowboys won the other day, Mr. Morgan. And sorry, I know you be going through it there.
Let's talk about them Eagles, though.
It's good. My Cowboys won on Saturday, last Saturday, and they're going to win this Saturday.
Oh,
and they're going to win the Sunday after that.
Wow.
And they're going to win the Super Bowl.
So is that a guarantee?
Then he woke up from his dream.
And then you can bring me back on your show, and we can talk about
Mr. Morgan's
how
guaranteeing
it was already written that they were going to win it, and those that know them and have it in their heart, have been Cowboy fans all their life, spoke it into existence. They're going to win it. They're going to
now,
win
if they win it, I'm going to definitely bring you back, the Wednesday after the Super Bowl.
Bring me the Monday after Super Bowl, because I'm taking off that Monday. After the Super Bowl, I'll come back then.
So you're guaranteeing
guarantee a Super Bowl.
Wow, that's bold. On the hour of power, Mr. Morgan says that. What's your view on this, Ms. Morgan? Do you think the Eagles going to repeat?
Oh, yeah. I mean, look at what happened. You had the double doink. So, God is on our side. So that's how I see it.
Well, Mr. Morgan informed me that someone, in fact, blocked it. That's why he.
That's right.
So and there's skill. Field goal.
And there's skill. So it took some skill.
No, he just should have kicked it a little higher.
And he didn't.
And they got lucky because they carried that leprechaun in their pocket.
It wasn't luck.
Got
But anyway, this is life in the Morgan household. This is life.
Who did you look up to coming up? Was you a Cowboy fan coming up, or was there a particular player that really inspired you?
Man, I go back. You probably don't remember this guy. I know you don't because you weren't born then. Roger Staubach.
I didn't see him play, but I heard of him.
You heard of him. Yeah,
oh, yeah,
so that's
number
how good
12.
he is. See, if he wasn't no good, you wouldn't have heard about him.
Right.
You know what I mean? Roger Staubach, Drew Pearson, Preston Pearson, Hollywood Henderson, Robert Newhouse. You know, they talk about what's that boy from Penn State that plays for New York now. I forget his name because he's not that great, because he's a giant. But Robert Newhouse had thighs that were bigger than your waist.
Wow.
You know, and Bob Hayes, the fastest man in the world. You know what I mean? It was those guys, and then it really was that star. Because I've always wanted to go into law enforcement since I was a young child. It was that star that drew me to him.
It looked like a sheriff's badge or something.
And then the talent that came along with it. I mean, they were not just America's team; they were my team. You know, and that meant something.
You
They're still
ask
my
young
team.
boys today who Tony Dorsett is, they have no idea.
They don't know who Tonya Morgan is. They don't know. Like I said, they don't know who Bob Hayes is. You know, they don't know Craig Morton was there before Roger Staubach, and because Roger came, who was a Heisman Trophy winner, and played for Navy, did a little stint in the Navy, and then came back. They held his spot, and he took Craig Morton's spot, and and made Craig Morton mad. You know. So I mean,
do you guys follow basketball, or are you just a football
76ers? There's only one team.
Wow.
There's only one team. The Sixers.
I asked Uncle Proc last week who the GOAT was, and he undisputedly said Michael Jordan. What are y'all views on that?
I'm the greatest of all time. I'm the GOAT.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Oh, you're talking about basketball. I thought you meant law enforcement. Because I'm the GOAT. But as far as the greatest of all time, I don't know, man.
It's hard to call, isn't it?
Hands down, I think LeBron's making a real.
What?
Real
I'm
star.
surprised you didn't say Dr. J.
Well,
I mean, you're such a huge Dr.
It's a
J.
different time, though. It's a different time.
Yeah, but
I can't talk to him about Dr. J because he wasn't born then.
That was my dude coming up. Now 83. Oh yeah, 83 when they
You're
won
putting him
it.
a little younger than what he is.
That's
an old man sitting
Look,
Yeah, that was my dude.
They laughed at
Moses
me
Malone.
when I was on the
and
police
Andrew
force because I took off work just to watch his retirement.
Yeah, classy
I'm a
dude.
diehard Dr. J.
Yeah, classy dude, man. He one of my greatest favorite players of all time. So this has been wonderful, having this interview. I'm glad y'all came on and gave y'all, perspectives on the community, and it's so much that needs to be done. And y'all aware of the reading
Yes.
program?
Yeah, I'm part of the Black Collective, and
Right.
anyone out there, I think that it's important to, really be involved with that. Bring your child on February the 2nd. Orientation, registration. I think it's an important thing. I think it's also important to get involved instead of waiting for something that when something happens like a shooting and then everybody rallies, but there's already people that are working diligently to try to make a difference. So be on board with that now. You can get in touch with me. My Facebook is Tonya Thompson Morgan. Feel free to inbox me and I can help you know how to get in touch with certain people. It's the Black Collective, and we need you. We need you.
Yeah, and I think they hit the nail on the head with the reading comprehension. And not only with reading comprehension, we need to teach our kids retention.
Yes.
How to retain the information that they are receiving so that they can regurgitate it when they need to. You speak about the SAT and everything. Reading comprehension and retention of information is important. And our kids obviously show through what they do with this modern technology that they have retention. They just have to use it, you know.
Okay, well, we only have 1 minute left. This is the Hour of Power with Brother Sharif, with Mr. and Mrs. Morgan. We look forward to your show coming up. Please keep posting, remind us, and I'll certainly put it on my page, and I can't wait to hear, the information you have to share. So this is Brother Sharif with the Hour of Power. Go to Hour of Power, Sharif Hamid on YouTube, subscribe and share so we can continue to lift the mind, body, and soul of our people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.